Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Morgan, and today we are going to be doing a review for A Curse in Ash by Julie Zentopoulos. Yep, pretty sure I said that one right this time. Okay, so by the back of the book, and the fortune card that came with it will say, I really thought she was a fortune teller. So real quick, we'll just read over the back of the book, see what you guys think. A Curse in Ash. Everyone knows you don't mess with Fae on a new moon. But the Fae that Ashlyn Quinn deals with don't need a thin veil to cross and jeopardize her carefully created life. As a powerful witch, she's battled for agency in realms determined to control her. Now she has a circle of friends she loves, a job where she excels, and a craft she's perfecting. Enter a handsome stranger, magically linked to her and the Fae fiancé who won't leave her side until threats against her life stop. As if that'll ever happen. Ashlyn has trained in magic use, self-defense, and secrecy, but no amount of training prepared her for a curse that hits so close to home. Then again, she never anticipated having two men by her side, ready to fight and die with her. With a diverse cast of characters and no shortage of danger or romance, the explosive world of A Curse in Ash, the first in an adult contemporary fantasy series, will leave you breathless for more. And you know, the cover, where she's holding the tarot card. Okay, so maybe the back of the book shouldn't have made me think fortune teller so much, but something made me think she was a fortune teller. Still not sure where it came from, so very confused for like the first chapter. This is a fantasy magical realism type novel because it's supposed to take place in our real world, but it is still fantastical because it's not just magic, I guess. It's fairies and a whole alternate history, because in the book, everybody already knows about magic and fae. There's no secret from the world at large. The public knows. The book, though, the world is separated into our realm and then the fae realm, which exists pretty much right next to ours, and we're separated by the magical veil, which fae, unless they're royalty, can only cross over in the new moon, which is why the back of the book mentioned new moon as, you know, troublesome, tricky time for her. But the crossover spaces are policed at most of the spots, so where they categorize and make sure who's coming over so they can keep an eye on it so there is no mischief. The beginning of our book is the entry of the new moon cycle in that month. So besides the fae and of course witches, there is a third class of, actually there's two more classes of magical creature that is specifically talked about in the book. The first is the Ravati, which are people themselves, but instead of like witches being able to wield magic, they are more of a magical conduit where they can see the magical energy and they can guide it to the use of witches, but they can't actually use the magic themselves. And this sounds so familiar, and I cannot for the life of me think of where else I think I've seen this theory type thing. Each Ravati, though, is magically bound to a witch, and it's not like a conscious thought really on either the witch or the Ravati's part. It's more of like a soul-ish connection. I don't know if soul's the right word, but it's something similar to that level. It's when you find your witch, it's just you're bound pretty much. They can be broken by their witch governing society, the Furian, not entirely sure how to pronounce that one, but it's not something that they want to have done a lot, because once the witch and Ravati are bound, it helps the witch use more powerful magic and thus help the world more, as long as they're good. Never really talks about the bad witches too much, but we are sure they are there, because when are there never bad to something that is good? Never. And the other type of magical creature that is spoken of in the book are a type of sprite. They don't take humanoid type forms, like earth sprites are normally in the form of flowers or something like that, and then there's fire and wind, and most of them seem not to have conscious thought, but to have semi-emotions and attitude. Almost all of them mentioned in the book had some form of attitude. They were very aggressive little things and tricksters. So that was an interesting concept, and that reminded me of Spren, kind of from the Sternlight Archive, which I was also starting to read, just before this. So from the back of the book, the description, it listed, some crazy things which did not make sense for a very good portion of the book, the new moon thing, that you find out in the first chapter why that was mentioned, what's important there. The handsome stranger part, that comes in the middle of the second chapter. But then some of the other things, you're like, what? For a good quarter of the book, I was like, I don't get it. But finally, it all makes sense, and it was woven in very well, I think. We'll say that the description probably could have done a little bit better, but that's okay. It still got you interested, it still got you to read it. So most of the book is through Ashlyn's perspective, and she is very powerful witch, and her main time job is a paranormal consultant to the police. So any big bad things are happening, she can go help them. She can go to the crime scene and like read the magical residue auras to see if she can identify whose magic it was used to and help them figure out what happened, and also make little charms and protection weavings and different stuff. So she gets pretty decent amount of money from her consulting job with the police. On the other side though, she is still a college student, or a returning college student, to try to get her business degree. I no longer remember, but I think it was her business degree, to be able to continue to manage her own business life, professional stuffs herself, which is really good. I like that they included that. Like, she's a little bit older than your typical student, so it's like she took time away and now she's going back to finish that. That was really cool. Enter in our second perspective, which is Reardon, and that name, the way it's spelled versus the way it's pronounced, took me at least half the book of saying it twice in my head before I got it right. The name is Irish, as our character is, and he moves to America to run away from magic and his past and his pain, and he wants a fresh start. He does not want any more magic or any personal entanglements at all. And let's just say that the first time those two meet, oh, it did not go well. It did not go well at all, which you know already from the previous chapter being from Ashlyn's perspective, why she is in such an angry mood. But my God, the level of hostility towards a perfect stranger is a little out there. It was a little bit much. Try to give her credit. She's been very stressed. Something bad had just happened. And then once the apologies are made and you know they're going to try to be civil, all of a sudden, bam, they're hit with something else. And now it's his turn to be all upset and run off in a panic. Yeah. So their meeting did not go well at all. So the big bad thing in this book, I think, was pretty well done, and it has to start with them really mentioning the Furin, like we talked about a minute ago, the governing body, and you find out that this governing body has been investigating cases of people going to sleep and not being able to wake up, like all around the world. And it's just mysterious cases, and they don't quite know what's happening, and like I said, this is around the world, so it's not really too big of the forefront. It's just something kind of mentioned in the background at first, and we're dealing with our own issues here that have been happening in Brookhaven, which is where the story is taking place in America, with Ash and Reardon. But it slowly starts to move, though, while they're still working through their own issues, that this cursed event is all of a sudden happening here. There's cases of it happening right there in Ash's town. And it really brings her into the fight against what's happening and trying to figure it out. And it built it up for a while. Like, it built up them investigating, trying to solve it. But then the resolution, I feel like the resolution hit kind of quick. I feel like all of a sudden, okay, we're figuring it out, and then bam. I feel like the ending just happened a little fast. And then I'm still left with all of these questions. Like, there were some plot points from the beginning of the book that never really got explained. Like the crime scenes she was going to and investigating at the beginning of the book. Are those connected? Because they seem kind of connected, but then were they just there to show what she could do? And also, like, why were the spirits acting so unusual towards Reardon? You'd have to read the book to know really what that is. But like, it was very unusual behavior. Like, a lot of people in the book, you know, thought it was unusual, but they didn't think it was too big an issue, considering all the other ones going on, until something really disastrous happened. So why were they doing that? That wasn't answered at all either. As the back of the book listed, it is supposed to be part of a series So I really need her to write the next one. I need these questions answered because there's just so many of them. I could have used a little bit less of the angsty, romancy bit of where pages and pages of one person singing about their feelings toward the other person and what they believe the other person's thoughts are on what the status of their relationship is, what they think the status of their relationship is. I could have done with a little bit less of that, I suppose, but yeah, we really need some questions answered. Overall, I enjoyed the book. It was a very nice distraction from where I was when I was reading it, and I would definitely recommend this book to a lot of people who like more of the magical realism stuff set in our world versus major fantasies. This will be a good book there for you, or books with witches, definitely, because Ash, is a very, very powerful kick-ass witch. Yes, she is. She did not even need her body to be able to do things. She is just that awesome. Hope that everybody is having a great weekend, finding something fun to read and enjoy or do. Have a great rest of your weekend. Bye, guys.